Welcome to this update of my pen collection, to which I have added several Montblanc pieces. Two of them are Writer's Limited Edition fountain pens. To start off, this is one of the more recent 149s I have added to the collection. It has an oblique double broad nib, and I keep this filled with Montblanc Violet, and you can see here a writing sample of this nib. You can see it offers quite a bit of line variance, and you can also see how it puts down quite a nice line, and that is the OBB nib. The other 149 I have added is this broad nib, and I keep this filled with racing green. So here we go. I will put another demonstration of this. The 149 broad nib, and if I were to show you, there isn't much line variance on this nib, although it is quite stubby when it wants to be, and that offers for quite a bit of fun when writing. It is my daily writer, definitely. And another addition to the collection is this Solitaire Le Grand. It is completely out of sterling silver. The fittings are in plated yellow gold. It is in the dimensions of the typical 146. It has a ink window. It's a piston filler, and I got this filled with Bordeaux. And for a B nib, there isn't that much line variance, which is what one would expect. This is the other 149 previously reviewed in platinum trim, so they are quite exact, quite identical. Of course, this is much heavier. This is the pinstripe version, and you can see this area they have left out a few pinstripes, and that means one could get the signature engraved if they so wish. Moving on to the two limited edition pens I have added to this collection. First of all is the George Bernard Shaw Writer's Edition. His signature, like all the Writer's Edition pens, is engraved on the cap. It also has a creamy Montblanc star. To compare, I will show you what the regular star looks like. You can see it's much whiter. All the limited edition writers pens, at least, have the off-white star. The more expensive patron of the art models come with mother of pearl stars, but that is not the case with most of the Writer's Edition pens. Of course, there are different editions. For example, this is a release of, as I recall, 16,000 pieces for the fountain pens. But some of the other Writer's Editions, like the Agatha Christie, come in models of 888, some even in editions of 75, like the Miyamoto Musashi. Those have mother of pearl stars. More about this pen: it's got a broad nib, it's got an ink window. All the Writer's Edition pens are based on the 146 profile, so the nib is essentially a 146 nib. However, it's got a custom engraving, and in this case it's got the Pygmalion engraved on the nib. This is one of George Bernard Shaw's most famous piece of work. It was made into a film with Eliza Doolittle portraying the flower girl, and the platinum lines essentially symbolize her ascension in society. And to give you an example of how this pen writes, I will write something down. It's a very fun pen to write with. This nib has been ground really well. The only quirk of this pen, or a warning, is that it's quite heavy. The cap alone is pretty heavy. So you wouldn't be able to write with this for a long time. It can get a bit uncomfortable. However, for quick notes, it is an extreme pleasure to use. This is the other writer's edition pen that I purchased in London. Actually, I had it sent over to Singapore where I collected it. This is the Fitzgerald, F. Scott Fitzgerald. This one had to go from London to the factory in Hamburg, where they replaced the nib to double broad, and that took about a month. Well worth the wait. His signature's on the cap. All the hardware is in sterling silver. This is from 2002, and it tends to put down a rather thick line, and you'll notice, look at that, it's a gorgeous signing pen. For a signature nib, this is just stunning, absolutely wonderful. It has quite a small profile compared to what one would expect from a limited edition pen, which makes it quite unique. If I were to get my Bohème Marron out, you'd see that with it at full extension at least, I would guess that they would be about the same. Oh yes, they are almost the same in length. However, when placed next to one of the larger pens, and in this case let's take one of the 146 lines, you would see that there is a significant difference in length. I actually prefer some of the smaller pens because they wear more comfortably in a shirt pocket, whereas the longer pens can sometimes feel a bit uncomfortable. And the last edition that is not a Montblanc, is actually a Waterman, is this Waterman Edson in sapphire blue. The barrel has this reflective sapphire like effect, and I have quite appropriately filled this with a blue ink, which is actually got the Monte Grappa blue inside. It has a M nib, and having an M nib there isn't much line variance. It's a cartridge converter, but with its futuristic design and roots of Waterman history, made in Paris and all that, and this contrasting blue and gold, this makes for such a stunning design and pen. It deserves a place in any pen collection, at least in my opinion. And that concludes this review, at least a short update of a couple new additions to my pen collection. I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you.